5 seconds, 2 seconds to power off. So that's it. There we go. Let's go ahead and call the meeting to order. Thanks everyone for being here and thank you for your time to the RTA CAC. So let me start off by reading this statement that I'm supposed to read. The primary objective of the CAC is to ensure the capital maintenance and public transportation projects and programs approved by the PPRTA voters at the November 2nd, 2004, November 6th, 2012, November 7th, 2017, and November 8th, 2022 ballot measures are accomplished with PPRTA funds. This committee reports directly to the PPRTA Board of Directors. Thank you very much, Rick, for providing them. All right. So right now, all alternates can vote unless I'm told otherwise. So I got that. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
So moved, Barb Winter.
Okay, Barb, thank you. Hey, Jared, my screen's off. Does it matter?
Yeah, eyes are off. Right here.
Yeah, mine's off too.
I think they all powered down. Anyway, all right, thanks, Barb. Second, Ed? Okay, second, Ed. So the agenda is approved as presented. I understand Larry has a comment of a public comment for items not on the agenda. So Larry, we'll let you kick it off.
Larry Tobias, El Paso County. Earlier this year at one of our previous CAC meetings, I informed the CAC that the El Paso County Department of Public Works had awarded a project to reconstruct the intersection of Rex Road and Meridian to improve both the traffic flow and also the accident prevention through that particular intersection. I'm pleased to announce that the project is complete. It was completed ahead of schedule. I have to say that there was some great coordination with the project because they were able to, during the summer when the school was out, they were able to actually close off a section of Meridian both ways to where the contractor could go in and actually work it without having to do roundabouts to get the traffic through. So that worked out very well, helped speed up the project. We had a ribbon cutting on Thursday, November 21st, 2024, at the intersection of Rex and Meridian, and had several people give short presentation, including Josh, our county engineer. So the project is complete. It was completed, like I say, ahead of schedule. They did have some change orders, which result in, some overruns, but I don't want to classify them as overruns because it was things that they found, once they got into the soils when they were, redoing some of the road work in that particular area. But overall, the project was very cost effective. It was completed in a timely fashion, and it works very well. And now we have a new connection between Meridian and the Eastonville Road intersection. And then it goes into Black Forest west of there. So it was a good project. I'd just like to turn it over to Josh for a minute and see if he has any additional comments concerning the project.
No, I think you did a great job, Larry. I appreciate it. You're right that the project team did a good job of finding some efficiencies and getting done almost a month in advance. All in, I think the project was a success, and it was nice to see so many people out there at the ribbon cutting.
Yeah, and I'd just like to make one clarification. There were no PPRTA funds that were used on this particular project. It was all El Paso County funds that were generated and used on this particular project.
All right, thanks for that update. That's a big intersection, this growing community, and there was a lot of confusion out there. So I'm sure, I haven't been to the new intersection, but I know the old one can be cluttered at certain times of the day. So it's a good move. Okay, any other public comments for items not on the agenda? Not seeing any. We'll move on to approval of the minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes of the last meeting? So moved. All right, thank you. Second. Okay, thank you. So Moody, do I have a vote to approve the minutes as written? Any votes? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any opposed? Okay, great. Thank you very much. Financial reports. I see Lisa's online. How you doing, Lisa?
I'm okay.
All right. You out running around the block yet?
Oh, not yet. Not till, sometime next year.
Okay. Well, I'm glad you're doing well.
Thanks. Lisa Corey, Finance Manager for the PPRTA. The month I'm reporting is the sales and use tax collections for September. We received $13,186,738. That did come in a little bit below our monthly budget by $38,760. So that's a negative 0.3%. And when we look at September of this year compared to September of last year, we received less this year, $416,969 less, which is negative 3.1%. Any questions?
Any indications from within the city or state about what drove lower revenue or receipts?
I'm not sure what the cause was, but from other reportings from other jurisdictions, it did look like there was a little bit of a downturn towards the end of August, early September. I would assume just tourism season ending.
Okay. Any questions with Lisa on the financial report? All right, very good. Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you.
Continue to improve.
I'll try.
All right. Item number 6, capital maintenance and public transportation contracts, City of Colorado Springs. I think so. I can hear you, but I don't know whether it's coming over the speaker or not.
It sounds really weird to me. That's why.
Well,
I
no,
asked.
it's on now. It's on now.
Okay, yeah. Thank you. All right, so I think Gail started with the City of Colorado Springs. I have 12 contracts for your consideration today, so I'm going to walk through each one of them. But as I get started, I wanted to point out, I know Rick emailed you a 12th contract for consideration and provided a hard copy with an updated list. When we get to contract 9, I'm going to talk about 9 and 12 together and what the differences are and why we ended up having the second one go through. But starting at the top of the list, I have Mark Shuffle Road Improvements. This is for a PPRTA 3A list project for construction. There is a map. I also want you to see that on the map, it also shows Dublin Boulevard as phase 3 of the Mark Shuffle construction project. I want to point out as I'm bringing this to you today that at the board meeting next week, we anticipated having the 25 budget already approved before we hear our contracts. And so I'm going to be bringing these contracts for consideration by the board next month. And then as it says in the memo that these that have RTA 3 funds in them, that we won't be issuing a notice to proceed on those until January 1st of 2025. So wanted you to make sure I wasn't getting the cart before the horse, but it is a little different since you guys don't hear the budget today. Anyway, this is for a contract with a not to exceed value of $37.5 million to Kramer North America. As you can see in the contract list, I have those funds currently split out with $36.5 million for Mark Shuffle and $1 million for Dublin. And the contractor, as I mentioned before, is using Dublin as one of the phases we've incorporated into that Mark Shuffle project. I'm going to move on to contract number 2. Also for Mark Shuffle Road Improvement, again, PPRTA 3A list project, but this is for the construction management for the next two phases, or the phase 2 and 3 of Mark Shuffle, and again, phase 3 is Dublin. This is to Wilson and Company, who is bringing Basis on as a subcontractor with them to provide construction management services. And the amount of $2,787,806, and that is split with $2 million towards Mark Shuffle and the $787,000 figure towards Dublin. The third contract is for the Dublin Boulevard improvements. Again, RTA 3A list project. The map is included in this area. Again, this will be the phase 3 for the Mark Shuffle Road project, but this is for Basis to finalize those plans for construction in the amount of $116,835. The city's third contract is for the Tejon Street revitalization project, and we've talked about this previously. This is for streetscaping activities that will happen between Colorado Avenue and Kiowa. We are incorporating in, we are not currently incorporating PPRTA dollars in this contract, but we wanted to bring it forth to PPRTA, one, because it is a PPRTA formatted contract, and should there be an event that would require PPRTA dollars to incorporate it in the future, we wanted to make sure that you heard this contract up front. The contract would be in the amount of $811,255 to Felsberg, Holton, and Uluvig. And again, those funds right now are coming from the city's parking enterprise.
Gail, before you move to the next one, can I go back one
Yes.
or back, please? Sorry to back up.
No problem at all.
On the major Mark Shuffle and looking at your paperwork, excuse me, that thing's up to 65 million plus, heading to 66 million so far in terms of where are we projecting spending to end up? A lot higher than this, or this is about right? Or
I would expect on the construction contract, roughly $15 million more, give or take $1 million one way or the other, as we're finalizing the final cost for the Dublin leg. But this picks up all of Mark Shuffle in the beginning of Dublin.
okay, so we're looking at another 80. I mean, we're looking at around 80
You got to
million.
remember, on Dublin, we originally said it would be between 50 and 60 million, and the Dublin piece around 15 or 16 million total
Okay,
cost. So we're in line with where we thought costs were going to end up.
okay. Because I had someone ask me that had been through there and said it was a lot of construction. It must be costing somebody a lot of money. So I saw your number here, and I was just, it's costing.
Well, it
the
is costing the taxpayers a lot of money,
Costing you.
but it is, I will tell you, it's being done very efficiently with it, through this contract. And in fact, I was just out there this morning. We're wearing jeans today. They let me go out in the field. I'm so excited. Anyway, I mean, if you've been out there, it looks fantastic, and you can see, it's amazing when you go in the old section of the roadway and you're like, oh yeah, this is why we're doing this project.
Yeah, exactly.
And then if you do that, then you can just swing by Dublin and see where that needs to happen and go back to Black Forest Road, which also looks great. So.
Great. Thank you for that.
Mr. Chair.
Yeah, when
Okay,
Rick's
well,
got it.
while we're there, a quick question. On Dublin, are you stopping at Peterson Road?
Yeah, it goes just slightly west of Peterson Road to Feeler,
Okay, good. About Bauer, I think it is.
whatever. I think it's,
Yeah. Okay,
we say Feeler in the office. I don't know if it's
Yeah.
Feeler, Filer, whatever.
I was just wondering, no, I thought it was gonna stop at Peterson, but that's,
Well, we say Peterson, but really as you tie back in with the existing work, you end up going to the west side of it. So we're making sure it's tying in correctly.
It goes from
everything.
4 lane to 2 lane there. You
Yeah.
got to kind of blend that. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
thank you.
Thanks.
Mr. Chair, Carlos Perez has his hand raised.
Go ahead, Carlos. Sorry.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, I had a question about the Tejon revitalization project. Well, we can wait to the end, or I can ask my question now.
Take,
Go ahead.
go ahead.
Okay, all right, thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I just, I realize this is not a PPRTA funded here. It's actually showing us the parking enterprise. back in October, we did show that the parking enterprise was going to contribute $2.8 million out of $3 million, but this contract is $800,000. So it looks like there's so my question is this a increase in the amount of money that's being spent, or is that coming out of the $3 million for the parking enterprise? And so it's not an increase, but it appears just on paper that we have a slight overrun. We don't have enough funds available from the parking enterprise for that. So,
Yeah.
so my question is where is this an overrun, or is this just my misunderstanding, most likely, on how this is being budgeted?
I think what you saw previously was the 24 budget, and they added more money in 25. So this 3 million on here reflects the carryover from 24 plus the new ones in 25. They did add more money to that overall project and the parking enterprise through the budgeting process in 25.
Should that be indicated then on this memo so that that's clear as to that, so it doesn't appear, we did add money, but when it shows funds available, that's the carryover. So it's not indicated here. This again goes back to parking enterprise, but I would ask that question if I was
Yeah,
them.
well, the way budgeting is done, whether you agree with it or not, finance includes carryover in the budget, even though in my mind it's budgeted or appropriated in the 1 year. It's not new money, it's just unspent money plus new money in this area, and that's very common. And it is appropriately budgeted through the city's budget office for this project.
Let me just make sure. I just want to make sure. All I'm asking is for transparency and clarity on that. Let me go back to let me kind of go back. Sorry, I have a couple of documents up here. So for December, let me go back and see if I can pull. I guys could look at the memo here. I was looking at October, and there is two columns. One's called funds available, and the other one is 24-25 budget. And let me just go back and look to see if it's just, all I'm looking for is disclosure. I know that, we do look at this very carefully. It just doesn't, I just want to make sure we have that indicated. So when it says funds, when it says 24-25 budget amount, 3 million, that's not the total amount, correct? What you're telling me for parking enterprise.
I don't believe that is not the total amount. That's correct.
So my question is, should it be the total amount, or do I need to have other information, as you indicated, to interpret that column? It's just the transparency. I'd like to see it just, again, since it looks like we're about, it looks on paper at $600,000 over from the parking enterprise. So all I'm asking is just, I think everybody would agree, let's just make sure we, cross our T's, dot our I's, especially since this was in the paper and citizens were asking about this. Let's just make sure we disclose, the amounts that we're using for these projects. It's not a lot of money, but let's just make sure it all adds up. That's my request. Thank you very much.
All right, Gail, next project.
All right, I'm going to move on to a couple on-call contracts. The first one is for our bridge on-call contract. The city had gone through an RFP process in 2023 where we did a base year contract that could be extended up to 4 option years. We're wanting to put an option year renewal in place for the 4 selected bridge maintenance contractors, which are TLM Constructors, Wildcat Construction, Chanel Construction, and Ability Design Build. Underneath this contract, task orders will be issued in accordance with Policy 30 and brought to the board or to the CAC and board as necessary for approvals. But we want to make sure that we get a renewal with these 4 contractors. Contract number 6 is for guardrail maintenance on call. The city went through a new RFP process. We did have one respondent, as with the Adirondack Constructors. They have been good partners for the city over time, so we've chosen to select them for this base year contract with up to 4 renewals. Very similar to bridge maintenance, so that this will be subject to issues of task orders as need be to do guardrail repair installation. Under contract 7, this is one of 2 task orders we're going to talk about underneath the concrete on-call contractors we put in place. This first one is for Lucky Dog Contracting with a not to exceed value of $1,047,000 to do concrete work in 3 locations as identified in our memo. In contract number 8, similar task order, but this one's for HCD. This is a task order for on-call concrete repairs that we would use as a companion for cost sharing for concrete programs, and that's when citizens call in and are willing to cost split doing concrete repair work in the right of way, and this would be the city's contribution. Plus, we bring our qualified contractors and can have oversight of the work. So it actually brings better value to our residents as well. Contract number 9. This is to establish a contract with our crack seal program provider. The city went through an RFP process. We did have 5 respondents. We have currently selected Seal Coat Solutions to enter into a base year contract, and that contract has the ability to add 4 option years. Work underneath this contract would be performed as a task order, and that's where contract 12 comes in, and I'll hit that in just a moment. The last thing before I leave this is they are still evaluating and negotiating with potentially 2 other contractors where we may be issuing future on-call contracts with them. So just wanted to bring that to your attention in case I bring 1 or 2 more contracts in the future, so you're not surprised. So anyway, just remember this is a task order-based contract. Right now, this has no dollars associated with it, and we'll talk about that again in 12. Underneath contract 10, this is for ADA accessible cutaway bus contracts. Mountain Metro Transit went through an RFP process to evaluate and establish pricing for multiple types of ADA compliant cutaway transit vehicles. This is really to put the base contract in place and basically establishing the pricing for 25 and has the option for 4 option years for them to be able to refresh pricing if it's advantageous for Mountain Metro to be able to make the purchases for these contracts.
Question.
Yes.
I couldn't answer this by reading the memo. What's a cutaway bus?
Is it low floor? That means, right? Did I get that right? Essentially, no. Let's let the transit person. I don't know if you need to be ADA compliant.
Good afternoon, Line Rail Transit Division Manager. A cutaway is those ADA paratransit vehicles that you see. Those are body on chassis compared to a low floor, larger fixed route.
The one with the lift on the
The
side?
one with the lift,
Okay,
and the
all right.
other one has.
Okay,
Yes, the other one has the ramp.
great, thank you.
What's the difference in classification?
Depending on the size, they are configured differently with how many seats, how long the vehicle is, and it also has whether or not it crosses that 15 passenger capacity. The larger ones will require CDL, the smaller ones will not.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's
Thank you.
basically the size and the weight.
Thanks, Elan.
This guy, you have to bring friends. You definitely never know when you're going to need to phone a friend. All right, I'm going to move on to contract 11. This is to add 4 service providers to our city's on-call contracts. So this is not guaranteed work or anything, but at least makes them available to the city. We've added these folks because they've come on board with some specialty services that we may want to be able to tap in 2025. And we anticipated them participating in our recompete later next year. And the final one, and this is the task order related contract 9. This is a task order for $1 million and not to exceed value of $1 million to Seal Coat Solutions. So we want to put this contract in place so our operation maintenance staff can task these folks as necessary to be able to provide crack seal services. So those are the city's 12 contracts for your consideration.
Any questions for Gail? Anybody online?
Jim,
Yeah, Larry?
I have one. Hey, Gail, I still don't understand the difference between contract 9 and 12 and why they weren't just combined together.
Well, that's a good question. I probably could have combined them together. We had a little bit of an internal miscommunication. So we got to understand the one is a base year contract and has no money associated with it. It just puts a contractual relationship in place. And then how we add money is through task orders. So even if I had put them on one memo, it would have needed to be 2 actions. In this case, again, it was a miscommunication with me and staff, and my apologies. So, but it's appropriate way for us to handle it from a procurement standpoint.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions for Gail on the city's contracts? Do I have a motion to accept the contracts as presented? Who? Okay, okay. A second?
Barb Winter,
Okay, thanks, Barb. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you, Gail. A lot of work. All right. Next item, Town of Rama. And Rick, you gonna do this one?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chair. But first, with the arrival of Kathy Heisey, Fidel Lee, alternate can now not vote.
Okay. We do a roll call, don't raise your hand.
Okay, so Cindy sent her apologies and asked me to handle this. The Town of Raymond would like to use some of their maintenance allocation to for a 35% share of the total cost of a Kubota 2024 tractor. And there's, as the picture is not in your packet, it's on, should be on your screen. And they would like to use this for road maintenance, snow plowing, and other transportation related functions over the next several decades. So they're asking for $20,000 out of their maintenance allocation, and for CAC recommendation of the board for approval.
Any question on Callahan's request? I raised the question just to make sure that it's recorded. We did have a long discussion years ago about vehicle purchases and specialized vehicles and that kind of thing. I think Rick has provided there, or there is a policy, maybe he didn't. It's on the screen, it's policy 24. So specialized parts, we're not doing pickup trucks and stuff anymore. That goes way back. And so this is authorized under policy 24 of the RTA.
Item number 3 of policy 24.
So just wanted to make everybody clear on that. All right, any questions on Callahan's request?
Mr. Chair, Carlos Perez does have his hand raised.
Go ahead, Carlos, sorry.
Ask about policy 24, and just to clarify that this is a specialized vehicle. So I did look at this, and that's my question. So you did answer my question. I just, so again, it's number 3, what it is. And so this is a tractor, front end loader is a specialized vehicle.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Yeah, it's staff's recommendation that this would be classified as specialized. I think when the CAC and the board had a joint meeting in 2014, the primary differentiation was pickup trucks that could be used for non-specialized functions or commuting or anything else. So I think reflecting back on that joint meeting in 2014, this would fall in the specialized category.
All right,
move
do I
for
have a motion?
approval.
Go ahead, I'm sorry, Barb.
I just said I move for approval.
Okay, thank you very much. Have a second?
A second. Andrews
Okay,
Springs.
okay, thank you, Andrew. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you very much.
Does the horse come with the Kubota?
Uh, well, it's young enough, it might need its mother too, so you'd have to have two horses.
Specialized.
It looks like
Item
a
num-
specialized horse.
A specialized, yeah, there you go. All right, item number 7A, transit service. Lan, you're up again.
Good afternoon, Line Rail Transit Division Manager. In your packet is our transit monthly report. And I would like to highlight, actually, in the packet on page 52, our year-to-date information. We continue to see the similar trend in October that we saw since January. Our ridership continues to increase, and the cumulative ridership comparison to pre-COVID, well, 2019 fell off the report because we keep 5 years of information. Compared to 2019, we are looking at about 90% of ridership coming back. And we do look at the American Public Transportation Associations. They have a statistic tracking nationwide transit agency ridership. And agencies our size, we're looking at between 500,000 to 2 million in population, and that's our comparable data set that we look at. Nationwide, we're looking at 73% of the ridership coming back compared to pre-COVID. Of course, zero fare helped, but that's the information, that's the numbers that we're looking at. In this transit highlight section, a question came up at the CAC last month about who are the riders using zero fare? Are we seeing increase in one category, one age group, or what does it look like? So we looked into our data. I do have to point out that during regular fare charging months, we have a special fare that includes kids, people with disability. So there are multiple categories included in that one fare. And the riders basically self-identify their demographic information. However, during free fare, since everyone just gets on the bus for free, and we relied on, instead of the individual self-identification, we relied on the driver's judgment to say, okay, this is a senior trip. That's a trip with disability. That's a trip for a young adult. So there might be some judgment call causing of basically the margin of error in the data set. But from the information that we have, we were able to identify the largest increase in ridership on the fixed route side. We saw 70% and 77% increase in July and August compared to June. So those are basically our largest increase. And the ridership among seniors increased 24% and 30% respectively for July and August over June. We also looked up the survey information because CASTA is the hosting agency for statewide zero fare program. We were not able to conduct our own survey because of the time frame that we had, but we relied on APTA's survey result. The people who participated in the survey, they collected 141 survey results. 10% of that survey said they're new riders. However, the survey relied heavily on the responses coming from riders in Vail. So we don't know how representative that information is for our riders and our system, but it is something that we were able to look up. And on the paratransit side, we did not see a huge increase that's outside the norm. So we were not able to identify any one group that really stood out. So that's a report following up with CAC report last month. also, we are planning to hand out similar events that we hosted last year. We're planning to hand out hot cocoa and some small gifts at downtown terminal next week. We were initially planning on Tuesday, but it seems like it's going to be pretty cold, so we moved it to Thursdays. It would be great to see you there. We'll decorate the terminal and say hello there. That's all I have.
Great, that's good information on the right. I was just wondering, the point of my question last month was that it falls within your adult category thing, but with the college kids picking up on the free fare versus non-free fare, but doesn't UCCS and the schools have a discount program for their passes?
We have a student pass program. UCCS was part of the program. However, they decided to discontinue the program since COVID. We currently have the program with PPSC and CC, as well as a couple of D11 high schools.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions for Land on Transit, Ed?
What time next Thursday is that?
We're looking at around noon, so probably setting things up around 11 all the way to 2 o'clock.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Land?
One quick one, what, I noticed in reading this, you had a decrease in seniors and, disabled, during the free, riding, and I was wondering, did you do anything find a reason why those two groups decreased the ridership during that free time?
We actually were not able to capture that information, but there could be some factors because during free fare, both fixed route and ADA paratransit service were free. So maybe some people tried the other service, and during fare charging months, we charge 85 cents to ride the fixed route for people with disabilities compared to $3.50 per ride. So that might play into this.
Sure.
And also the other part is that margin of error. When you self-identify for a senior with disability, it's one fare when you pay. But during free fare, we relied on drivers to make that judgment call. So there could be some error in the data that we collected.
Thank you. Okay.
Welcome.
Thanks, Lan.
Thank
All
you.
right, very good. Thank you, Lan. Appreciate it. 7B, update on South Academy. Gail?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Gail Stewart event. Just wanted to provide an update per the board's request. Much of the memo on Academy Boulevard, the first 4 paragraphs are very similar to the previous update we provided, but towards the last towards the bottom of the first page and onto the second page, it gives you an update of where we are right now. But the contractor has physically completed the work on the northern segment of South Academy, and we're resolving some final reconciliation on some of the quantities to be able to proceed towards issuing substantial completion. We're also doing our inspections and things like that right now to really accept the work that's been performed right now. The traffic control in the south segment has been removed. We are still working towards repackaging this project for resolicitation in early 2025. We also, as I mentioned, I believe I mentioned last month that we had received request for equitable adjustment by the contractor. In fact, I know we did because Dave had some very choice things to add into my arsenal for discussions on it. So we are working through that with our legal team. So again, we're really working on packaging this up, though, to be able to complete that south segment work through a best value contractor selection sometime in 2025.
Okay. Yeah, it's an important project, a lot going on down there. So, any other questions for Gail on Academy? All right, great. Thanks, Gail. All right, so item 7C is the monthly change order and property acquisition report. In your packet, any questions for Gail on that report? Not seeing anybody's hand raised. Okay, we'll move on to Powers North reimbursement update.
Yeah, so just keeping you apprised of the costs that are being incurred that are eligible for reimbursement underneath the powers reimbursement agreement between the city, the county, Copper Ridge Metro District, and PPRTA. So as of the publication of this memo, we have received a total invoice of just over $14.7 million, of which just over $14 million of that is subject to reimbursement by PPRTA. And if you haven't seen it, that bridge is open. They're doing a lot of the final work around there, but it looks great.
Yeah, it does. I wrote a part of it the other day. Yep. That'll be a nice project once it's, so the plan would be then starting in January. They would be invoicing and we'd be paying the invoices.
They don't invoice. So what we've been doing in accordance with reimbursement agreement, they provide a statement.
Okay,
So we go through review, sign off the statement. Once we find it to be valid, then we submit it to PPRTA. One of the things that we're going to do, instead of like an invoice to know the payment, is that Josh and I are actually going to put a repayment schedule in place. So it's very clear for Rick and for Lisa on a monthly basis how much should be reimbursed to Copper Ridge Metro District. So I didn't bring the exact numbers in front of me, but I believe we have a total between the two of us of $12.15 million of money eligible underneath our 25 budget that we're going to designate for reimbursement underneath this agreement. So we'll start making reimbursements in that case.
okay, thanks for clarifying that. So the money on your memo, your sheet is work they've done that we've got to pay them back for.
That is correct. And I provide more detail and backup on this in the statements we provide to PPRTA. But what I bring for you is just a summary
That's fine.
or one item summary of costs incurred. So you're just aware of really that liability that PPRTA has in accordance with that agreement.
Okay, all right. Thanks for clarifying that.
No problem. We actually did some work on that this week.
Good.
It's time.
All right, Larry.
Gail, you said that between you and Josh, or the city and the county, you're going to reimburse approximately $12 million starting in 2025 for Copper Ridge?
Yes, whatever the budgeted amount that we've identified in our budget. I will be clear, the city's budget has other monies that are not subject or available for reimbursement in powers, because there's other things we have to pay for some utility reimbursements and things along that lines. But the county has a total of $3.1 million in their budget. Out of the city's budget, 10.15, that's right. Out of the city's budget is eligible for reimbursement. So that together, it makes a healthy amount of money. See, I put all this in an email the last 2 days. I can't remember all the numbers exactly, but it's in accordance essentially with the schedule that's laid out or was contemplated in the reimbursement agreement. And if you recall, when we looked at that, gosh, I feel like that's a year and a half, 2 years ago almost. We actually put a spreadsheet together, kind of understand what those numbers meant on a yearly basis. And that's essentially what we're using, one, to build our budgets, and two, to help do the reimbursement. The one thing I'll point out to you, normally you would think you're going to take that money and then divide it by 12, but because we don't get 25 revenue till March, we're actually only going to be giving Copper Ridge 10 payments, but it will still be the total value of what we've allocated in our budget for reimbursement.
Starting in March. The IGA says that we can reimburse Copper Ridge with 2025 revenues. It's got to be a PPRTA 3 revenue, so that's January. And as you're well aware, and having seen the financial reports over the decades, that we don't actually get DOR's money electronically until about 40 days after the end of each month. So that would be March 10th.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. Thanks for clarifying. Okay. Any other questions, Larry?
No, that's
Okay, thank you. Okay, Gail, next, North Nevada, reimbursement update.
Yeah, so this is just to give you an update on where we are for reimbursements underneath the project advancement IGA the city has with PPRTA to advance two Nevada Avenue reconstruction projects that were identified on the PPRTA 3 ballot. The city is advancing money to be able to proceed with this. To date, we have a total costs that have been incurred of $2,337,502.68. And all that is subject to reimbursement by PPRTA in 2025. I will point out, we'll probably have a few other minor costs associated to finish closing that out. We just don't have all those expenses, but we'll get those over to PPRTA. And I believe that is a one-time reimbursement at the end of 25, if I recall correctly, in accordance with the agreement. They'll send us the money.
Yeah,
whenever
yeah,
it's
yeah.
done. But at first I need to send them a full statement. So I just need to get the rest of the minor closing cost stuff to be able to submit that.
All right,
But
Thank
that's a lot less. We had anticipated up to as high as $3.1 million. So that's a lot less money than we.
good. Yeah, it's a mess down there right now, by the way, or it was a week or so ago, but
On Nevada Avenue?
down at that whole Nevada T-home, that,
Oh, that's a completely different project.
Yeah. When you say Nevada, that's what comes to mind at the moment.
Yes. Yeah, this is north of Fillmore, or essentially from just south of Fillmore, from the Rock Island Trail up
Yep.
to Hamilton Gap.
Okay. Well, that was part of that North Nevada study up that area, wasn't it part of that?
The Renew North Nevada.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember doing that. Okay. All right, next, 7F, El Paso County, El Paso County update on South of Nevada.
Josh Palmer, County Engineer. I've asked Brett Hartzell, he is our engineering manager over the Capital Group and also the project manager, just to share an update on the project with you.
Push the little, there you go.
All right. It's been quite a while since I've had to do this. So Brett Hartzell, I'm the project manager for this South Academy project. I might have went a little overboard with the PowerPoint, but little more information than a bad thing. So let's see if I can skip ahead here though. So background, you guys are pretty familiar with the background. It's from west of I-25 to the city-county boundary. It's approximately 2 miles. And this project includes everything, bridge widening, bridge rehabs, scour improvements, lighting, stormwater improvements, signage, striping, you name it. Designers, AECom, Wilson's providing the construction management and the testing. SEMA Construction is the contractor, and Bachman PR is doing the PIO. Total project budget, this one's a little bit confusing because it's not all PPRTA money. We've got some federal funds and some state funds. The total project budget is about $72.2 million. The actual PPRTA budget is about $67 million. The difference of that coming from federal and state funds. And currently the project is on budget. Project schedule, the project began in September 2023. It's scheduled to be complete in early 2026. We're about 50% complete right now, and we are on schedule. I gave just some rough estimates of work complete to date. The scour work is complete. We got about 60% of the road widening work done, about 75% of the drains work done, which is really a large portion of this project. About 85% of the bridge widening over Bradley Road, about 50% of the bridge rehab work, and we've got about 65% of the noise wall installation done. Current activities, working on the noise wall between Hartford and Fountain Creek, working on the road widening to the median, installing multiple drainage lines. Again, that is a huge chunk of this project is the number of drainage lines and the depth that some of them are at. Then the grout soil stabilization for boring underneath BNSF Railroad, which we'll get into that a bit more with the obstacles and difficulties. The fact that this project is still on schedule is really a testament to the team, I think, because we've had no shortage of things we've had to work around and work through. It's first off, it's a high volume roadway. We try not to have any closures unless we need to. What that means is a lot of weekend and night work going on here. We've had entire months where it's around the clock, just because, you know, we're trying to get stuff done before we lose the good working temperatures. So we had some settlement in the creek, and that was when we were doing the scour improvements. We knew that was a risk, so we were luckily prepared for that. Nevertheless, still had to spend some time coming up with the best plan of action to proceed. But that is past us now. Extensive utility relocations, a lot of which we've known, some of which we have not known, and working through that, just getting the utilities to come out and sometimes to just locate their lines, sometimes to relocate their lines. It's a lot of work, a lot of coordination that we have to do. We had some plug joint repairs for some of the bridges that were in worse condition than we thought when we were milling. We came across that, how to again stop, reach out to the engineer to figure out best plan of action. Been working through that now though. Difficulty permitting with BNSF. We're working within the right of way. We're doing some jack and boring underneath their railroad lines and also doing some bridge rehab over their lines. So that's a lot of coordination. In addition, they give us sometimes when we're actually doing the boring, they give us some narrow windows that we have to work within, as well as, hey, you guys have 15 minutes to get out of the way. We've got a train coming through. So that it doesn't make it easy, but the team still finds a way to proceed. Another thing that we've had to work through is about doing the jack and boring, which is kind of pushing that pipe through. Found some looser soils than expected, so then we had to stop, come up with a plan, and now we're having to physically inject grout to strengthen the soil. There's other methods, but when you're working with BNSF right away, they don't allow anything else other than just physical strengthening, which in this case is grout. So what to expect for the next few months? Continuing with the noise wall installation, continuing with the roadway winding. We actually have a traffic switch coming up where we're shifting more of the traffic to the median from Bradley over to Milton Probry. So we're making good progress on that. Again, a lot of drainage lines that still have to go in, working on those, resuming the bridge rehab work. Then we've got some traffic signal work at I-25 on the off and on ramps that we have not begun yet, but expect to start those in the next few months. We've been trying to let the CDOT project do their work in that area before we get too heavily involved there. And I know I went kind of fast, so if there's any questions, I'd be glad to help answer.
So how much are you paying that BNSF inspector to sit there in his truck and supervise your work?
Yeah, they think highly of their employees. Yeah, and unfortunately, when working within BNSF, you're almost at their mercy. There's little you can do other than comply, and even changing a permit would takes months to get just a slight modification on the language. So, but you know, we've did our best to work around it, and I think the project team has done a good job on that.
Okay, we have a frequent traveler that has a question.
Yes, Brett, I'm a frequent traveler. I've got a question. Thank you very much. This is a great overview. Josh is probably sick and tired of me complaining month after month about that. I know that most of my complaints are targeted, I believe, towards CDOT, but that's really the framework of my question. Help us understand. You mentioned that this work begins west of I-25.
Yeah.
And of course, the bulk of it is east of I-25. But right there in the middle is the forlorn CDOT project that's been driving at least me as a citizen and many of the people I hear from crazy because of this group's heard me say before, the 12-mile detour that never has a variable message sign or anything there warning the public that they're about to encounter an unplanned 12-mile detour. Help us understand where the dividing lines are between the massive CDOT interchange project and the great work they're doing here.
So it's really an overlap. So our project is west of I-25. It does go through the CDOT right away, all the way east up to the county city border. With that being said, CDOT is working over South Academy as well as under. So we're actually within their right of way, and the work that we're doing within their right of way is the signalization work and then some minor roadway work. But CDOT has unfortunately, anytime you're working over an open roadway, you have to close it down. You don't want anything to fall on live traffic. So because of that, there's been a lot of detouring that the CDOT project has had to do. We've had to do some, but we try to limit it as much as possible. I do know that CDOT work is wrapping up though. They're right now working on the punch list. I don't know how long it's going to take. I don't follow that as closely, but that is coming to an end. And there'll be times when we have to do closures too, but we try to really minimize that. And thankfully, we haven't had to do that too much yet.
So west of I-25, what is the work that you're doing then? It's not CDOT work west?
Yeah,
of the
so west
interstate?
of I-25, it's really west of I-25. It's almost to Venatucci. It's east of Venatucci. So we initially began working there. There was a joint trench we had to do. We had to install because there's a lot of utilities in that area, and there's not much right of way. So we had to install a joint trench. Then now it's kind of once we go west of I-25, we're not really widening. It's more milling and it's kind of more shoulder widening, but it's a lot of
Just
milling
minor
and
work, it
repaving.
sounds like
Yeah.
that, right? So I've
Yeah.
been blaming the correct
The-
agency for their incompetence and lack of signage, which is CDOT, right? I should not. be
I don't
blaming
have
your-
control of their signage. I just make sure my CM team double checks our signage a lot. So
Excellent. Well, your folks have been doing a sensational job, Brett. I can't speak enough good things about you, and I wish I could say the same about your colleagues on that interchange project. In fact, the reason I'm here today, full disclosure, 22-minute bumper to bumper, 3 miles an hour on I-25. The main line is closed. So I had to cut around through Carrabba's and go all the way through there to get here 22 minutes late because of the, I'll say, competence of your CDOT colleagues. But you're doing a fabulous job. Please convey any concerns you feel appropriate to your sister agency there. Thank you.
Any other questions on South Academy? Big job.
Okay.
Big job. They give it
Oh,
a
yeah.
lot better.
Yeah.
So
All right. Thank you.
especially the drainage from that creek.
Yeah.
That'll be a big improvement.
Yeah. Yep. One of the things we're trying to look at too is whether or not we can help out a little bit with the Bradley Road area, if we can allow any of that drainage, if that will fit in our system to provide a little bit of relief. We don't know yet, but that's something that we're looking into as well.
Good, great, thank you. All right, next item is the El Paso County Monthly Change Order and Acquisition Report. Any questions for Josh on that? Okay, not seeing anybody jumping at their computers or otherwise. We'll go on to quarterly reports from member governments. Rick?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The quarterly reports for the third quarter of 2024 are in your packet. And I emailed ahead of time Green Mountain Falls report that didn't arrive in time for the packet. And then I've handed out hard copies to those in the meeting today as well. So with that, we have all 6. It's just an information item, but if you have any questions, I can ask the respective member government to respond to them.
Yeah, I just want to make sure we go on record as saying thanks to all of the member governments for putting this together. This is a huge undertaking, but it's also a very useful document for when somebody's complaining about something or you're not sure of the status of something. This is a great reference document. So, but I want to thank the member governments because this is a huge project. So thank you all. All right, item 8A, recent board actions. Rick?
Information item, it's in your packet. Just scanning to see if there's any highlights to share that weren't on your agenda last month. So yes, the board has approved a 1-year renewal with the consulting attorney, Jennifer Ivey, and also approved a 1-year renewal with the state lobbyist, Dan Jablan. I think that's the only thing that was The board had a discussion of the 2025 budget, which you had seen. And it was discussion only at that stage. They're going to have their public hearing and approval next Wednesday. No revisions from what you saw and recommended last month. I think that's it. Take any questions you might have.
Any questions for Rick? Okay, item 8B, appointment, reappointment process for Citizens Advisory Committee members.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As you can see in the memo, there were 6 CAC members whose terms were up for renewal. As you're aware in the bylaws require staggered terms, so that all 21 CAC members' terms wouldn't be up at the same time. So Karen Asplin is term limited on CTAB. She's requested to come back as an at-large alternate, and the board received, the board subcommittee of the board chair, vice chair, and the CAC chair received her application to come back as an at-large alternate, and the subcommittee is recommending that Karen come back as an at-large alternate, and the full board will review that recommendation next Wednesday. David Zelenak we received the county's reappointment of Dave. Bruce Colson, we received the Town of Callahan's reappointment of Bruce. The board subcommittee also received Jim Godfrey's request to come back for a second term as an at-large regular, and the board subcommittee is recommending yes for Jim to come back. That will be heard next Wednesday by the full board. Russell McPadden also requested to come back for a second term as an at-large alternate, and the board subcommittee gave that a thumbs up. Mr. Lee has indicated that he's not interested in being reappointed. So this is going to be Fidel Lee's last meeting. So in case he would like to share any comments, or anybody wants to share comments with him, and I think he's still on. Yes, he's still on. So that's the status of the 6 CAC members. So it's just an information item for the CAC at this stage, and we'll see what the full board does with the recommendations for Jim, Russell, Karen, and 2 additional applications for the vacant alternate seats that, as you can see on the agenda, have been open for a couple of months. A Mr. Jeff Snelling and a Mr. Jamie Smith, both engineers, are requesting for the alternate seats, and the board's subcommittee gave those 2 requests a thumbs up. So they will be on the agenda for the full board next Wednesday as well. I'd be glad to take any questions, or I'll see if Mr. Lee wants to make any comments.
Fidel, I'd like to just, Rick made mention of your last meeting. I just want to thank you for being a member and participating. I know you've had some challenges work and training wise, but you got anything you'd like to tell the committee? Fidel. Mute button. Okay, maybe not. All right.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
I just have a listening comprehension question. You mentioned that Jim and Russell are on their second full terms, but this says first full terms. So should this say second full terms or not?
Completion.
It says that's what their current term is
Okay.
in the memo.
Okay, so
That's sort of-
Karen on her second full term?
But with CTAB or with a member government, there's no term limits. Her term limited situation is at CTAB, not with us.
Okay. All right. I think.
She can clarify if she'd like.
Okay, so it'll eventually be Jim's second full term.
Yes.
And Russell's second full term.
Yes.
But this is also going to be Dave's first real full term ever as a county rep. That's what
unfortunately.
I just want
No.
to make sure
Sure.
that's what his understanding was sitting
Well-
next to me. So that's why I want to make sure everybody's on the same page.
It's a full 3-year term. First I've ever had a full 3-year term
okay.
appointment.
Okay.
I've had partial scraps of terms. But this is the first full 3-year term.
Another 3 years?
Said, oh, no. So apologies in advance to Josh and Gail here, that they're in for, is it till 2028, I think. So buckle up.
All right.
So then again, just to be consistent, what would you put Dave as?
Well, again, it doesn't matter. It could be his 3rd or his 20th.
Okay.
There's no term limits for
Then?
member government. So
All right.
I think my records indicated that according to the bylaws, if you have a partial term of half or more of a full term, it's declared a full term. So I think that's why I was showing it as a full term.
Okay. Now you know.
So have you been serving more than 18 months? I'm not sure. I think.
I'll let you figure that out.
Look at my receipts.
All right. Item 8C, election of CAC officers. Rick?
The board approved CAC bylaws state on page 5 that the PPRTA Citizens Advisory Committee shall select its chair, first vice chair, and second vice chair for 1-year terms at the first meeting of each calendar year. So just a reminder to be doing your campaigning between now and January 2, Thursday, January 2. Remember a few months ago, we talked about since the first Wednesday in January is the 1st, and that's a holiday for most everybody, including this building. The CAC a few months ago, I gave the CAC the choice of either the December 31 or January 2, and the CAC picked January 2. So just a reminder to everybody, just want to see if anybody's objecting and want to have another vote on that. But right now it would be the usual time, Thursday, January 2.
Bring your leftover party favors. And your whistleblower hat. All right. Agenda items for next meeting. Anybody got anything burning we need that we want to talk about next meeting? Anybody online? Okay.
Hey, Jim?
Yes?
Not necessarily next meeting, but sometime in 2025, I'd just like to suggest that we bring CDOT forward for an overview periodically. I don't know what that looks like, but I'd sure like to have a chance to engage with our CDOT counterparts, understand what on earth they think they're up to. Just give us an overview once a year would be my suggestion.
Okay.
Just a comment, Dave, are you trying to follow up with the meeting that they had up in Palmer Lake over that development the other day?
Well, actually, the Beacon Light Road project, which I think we do have business in, right?
Yeah.
Does just shave the edge of that Bucky's property.
Yeah, it does.
And I can only imagine there'll be an ask at some point coming toward us as a result of the big Bucky's controversy.
It sounds like that meeting didn't go very well last night, so. So,
Yeah, and that was one question I had for Josh is, have you got any indication of what that development might do to that Beacon Light, road project that, as I understand it from what you said, you're almost ready to go for contract for that.
Based on the conceptual designs that we've seen, the proposed impacts to County Line Road and Beacon Light Road would overlap the north half of our Beacon Light Road project. So what we did was we split our project into 2 phases. So the first phase, which ironically we're calling phase 2, right, Brett? Yeah, we'll go first. That'll be the south half. So Wakanda north to where we believe the limits of the Bucky's improvements would end, assuming they came in. So while we work on the first phase, the first executed phase of our project, will give us more time, a year or so, to find out what's going to happen with the Bucky's. If they come back and say we're not going to do it, no, we haven't lost any time. We'll just add on and advertise for the next phase for that project. If they do come in and have to make improvements, then we'll most likely scrap the current version of that second phase, the north phase, and hopefully not have to do many improvements at the expense of PPRTA budget.
Okay, thank you.
All right, communications. Rick?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think I've already covered it. We're confirmed for January 2nd, Thursday, January 2nd at 1:30 for your January meeting instead of January 1st.
All righty. Any other communications? Anybody want to share with the other members?
Just a quick thing, got a approval from Brandy that it was okay that my production came out, was approved by her. And I made a video of a trip I took over the Alpine Loop over Cinnamon Pass and Engineers Pass. And I made a video of it, and I invite you to take a look at it and see if you can enjoy it. There's I put music to it and some information about the area and some history. And you can find it at youtube.com/@RickHoover5592. Hope you can enjoy it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Rick. All right, if there are no other communications or no other issues, we'll call it adjourned. Thank you all for your time.
Well, you're gonna let the chairman make some notes.
If the group chooses, I'm said, I don't mind doing it. And, what the group chooses, somebody else wants to step up.
Yeah. Well, I'll run for as vice chairman again. Okay. So.
With the mercy of the game.
Yeah, well, everybody is